Hello, and welcome to EURAXESS Smart Talks.
The Smart Talks podcast series is an EU-funded EURAXESS project, which provides information and assistance to researchers at any career stage.
EURAXESS supports the European research area in its ambition to create a single, borderless market for research, innovation, and technology across the EU.
We support researchers in mobility, careers within and beyond academia, innovation, and entrepreneurship.
We strive to enhance scientific collaboration between Europe and the world.
So, in my opinion, it is necessary to this activity, the scientific diplomacy, to have a strong basis and experience in research, active research fields.
Welcome to the episode on Science for Diplomacy that dives into the fascinating world of scientific diplomacy and the expanding opportunities for scientists to make a difference on the global stage. In this episode, we explore how science and policy intersect, highlighting the power of scientific diplomacy to bridge borders, address shared challenges, and foster international cooperation. Science diplomacy working groups on a European Framework for Science Diplomacy has been published. In her foreword, Ekaterina Zakharieva said, "Science diplomacy helps keep the international science system open. Through the universal language of science, we can build and maintain bridges even when formal relations between nations are strained. We must implement the necessary safeguards to ensure that Europe keeps its competitive edge and technological sovereignty." Thankfully, through Horizon Europe, the EU has one of the world's most powerful tools of science diplomacy. In this episode, we will explore how you, as a scientist, can pursue a career in this dynamic field. Join us to learn about real-world impacts, career pathways, and how science can drive change worldwide. Today, we have as a guest Dr. Borra, who is an experienced scientist with a demonstrated history in research and international cooperation. He is a strong research professional with a PhD in cellular biology from University della Calabria, skilled in bioinformatics, molecular biology, and biotechnology. He is currently the Scientific Attaché in the Italian Embassy in Paris. Hello, Marco. You are very welcome to the EURAXESS Smart Talks podcast. Thank you very much for your time. Let's start from the beginning. Can you share with us how you developed your career?
The path of my career to date can be described as, I will say, non-linear. I would like to start by sending a message to those who are starting to develop their career today. Always keep an open, flexible mind. This is my main message. It is necessary to acquire specific skills in order to find a place in the professional world, as I will explain in my case in the next few minutes. But it is equally important to maintain imagination and flexibility, and to not believe that there's only one path through which to build your career. During the development of my career, I had the opportunity to deal with the internationalization of my institution, the development of its collaborative research policy at European and global level, and also to take part in the research infrastructure panel of the Italian Research Ministry. Then later, after taking over as head of the research infrastructure department of my institution, and at the end of the term, I had also the opportunity to increase the collaboration with the ministry on different subjects. I was called as technical expert in different occasions like G7 like UN program. And this was also helping me in deepen my skills in internationalization. Finally, I was selected for my current position as Italian Scientific Attaché in France at the Italian Embassy in Paris. And so I, therefore, at least temporarily left my position in my country for this, let's say, I will say fairly and new, very exciting adventure.
What inspired you to pursue a career at the intersection of science and diplomacy? Was it a particular event, mentor, or experience?
What inspired me to pursue this new career? I will say that the fundamental experience that moved me from an active scientific research to scientific diplomacy was the work done in the development of research infrastructure, especially the distributed one with the European character, which are, in fact, and I understand today, an extraordinary tools for scientific diplomacy. In addition to this, all the development of internationalization activities that I initiated for my institute and that also led me to be identified on some different occasions, such as an example, as I already said, G7 or United Nations Conference as representative for the Ministry of Research for technical scientific advice. This was another important part that finally opened me the door to scientific diplomacy. There was, I will say, an almost unconscious transition from the workbench with pipette in hands to activities supporting research until I gradually found myself in a position of abandoning completely laboratory work in favor of activities that can contribute to the development of research and innovation policy for, I will say, a more general nature and of a more, in bracket, political level, I think.
How does the day-to-day work of a science diplomat differ from that of a traditional scientist? What skills are especially important in this field?
Day-to-day work of science diplomats is really different from a traditional scientist. The work of scientific attaché refers to the activities of what is called science diplomacy. It is an extremely different job from the researcher. In fact, I will say completely different. Active research is not part of my work today, which in my case has moved from laboratory to the desk. If, as a researcher, I had, I will say, a biological question to be answered through laboratory and collaborative work with other groups, and as well as have all part of related activity to the search of funds and projects to support the laboratory, and also another part of the work that was represented by teaching duty. Now, instead, the focus of my work refers to a more political dimension and to the development of all those actions that can lead to a competitive advantage to the country's research system, for Italy. Activity that can then lead as a consequence of, for example, to the development of collaborative research programs and projects, collaborative supporting programs with funds of a bilateral nature, in my case, with France. The work then is really completely different. Nevertheless, it is absolutely important and a key factor in order to understand what are the best opportunities and ways to develop a proper and effective scientific diplomacy, to have a background of active science research. Otherwise, you completely lose the link between political subjects and research implementer, I will say, that this is absolutely important. So in my opinion, it is necessary to this activity, the scientific diplomacy, to have a strong basis and experience in research, active research fields.
Can you share examples of projects or initiatives where scientific diplomacy made a significant impact? How did scientists contribute uniquely to these outcomes?
Science diplomacy took on a role of particular importance, and so its activities develop and flourish at the turn of the First and Second World War, especially after the Second World War. From a certain point of view, I think that science diplomacy played a key role and gave a major contribution to the reconstruction not only of a scientific tissue in many nations, but above all to the reconstruction of peaceful and cooperative dialectical relationship between nations, between who win and who lose the war, a relationship that could overcome the extreme and some kind irremediable divisions that led to the conflicts. This is what is now called soft power and has an increasingly strategic role. We can make several examples on that. The creation of Sesame, for example, or CERN can be examples. Actually, it is we can see identify different activities. The diplomacy for science, the science for diplomacy, and the diplomacy in science. That these are the three different dimensions of action, and the use of these different dimensions that are also interconnected led to the major results of science diplomacy, like the example that I made already, Sesame and CERN, regarding the big infrastructure. And another, I think, relevant example of different nature is in a dramatic moment of history of our planets, scientific diplomacy played an important role during the development of nuclear technology during the World War, but at the same time stimulating on this issue an ethical reflection. I think that this was an important part of science diplomacy.
How does scientific diplomacy impact major global challenges such as climate change, health, and technological development? What role can scientists play in shaping these policies?
The impact of the role of science diplomacy can really differ from the opportunity we have and the situation in which we play our role. Anyway, with respect to the great challenges facing humanity today, I think that this impact is mainly relies above all in its activity of information and education regarding the policymakers, influence in regard to the different scientific community. So collaboration, I will say, and influence with the respect of the possible strategic choices that can be matured by the different scientific community and then can be brought to the attention of governments and policymakers. So the fundamental aspects are those, therefore, also of communication, understanding, advice, I will say, and influence.
What advice would you give to early career scientists seeking to build a network in diplomatic and international cooperation circles?
Non-linear career environment. I strongly, I'm repeating myself, it is important to have some skills in internationalization, collaboration, but also and mainly it is not possible to skip an experience of active research. That at the end, the active research give you the opportunity to collaborate at international level, to have a look to research policies, to understand mechanisms of research funding at different levels. So basically, the research, the active research experience can open many different doors. The doors of the management of science, the doors of fund search, the doors of policy development, that are all different pieces of the puzzle of science diplomacy.
Good. Are there specific programs, fellowships, or organizations that are particularly supportive of scientists entering diplomatic careers?
Specific program fellowship. Unfortunately, there are no structured training paths, neither at Italian or at European level, for what concern a possible career in the field of scientific diplomacy. What is essential, in my opinion, and as I already said before, is to start in any case from an active research experience, acquiring a deep knowledge of the mechanisms of research and collaborative research at national and possibly international level, acquiring not only knowledge of tools and mechanisms, but also capacity of interaction and communication and collaboration on international level. Both national and international training programs should be matured in the near future. Some of them are still on the track, and they will be developed also through the support of a specific European project. We launched in Italy the first summer school in science diplomacy last September. It was a success. I think that searching the web in the next few years, 1 or 2 years, many different opportunities of trainings in different forms will become available.
In your experience, what are some of the biggest challenges scientists face when transitioning into diplomatic roles, and how did you overcome these?
In the transition from active research to the science diplomacy field, there are several challenges to be faced. challenges of both professional and personal nature. Because one thing that I have not already said during this list of questions is, but I think it's very important, is always, when possible, as much as possible, to maintain the best possible balance between private and professional life. Also because at the end, the challenges of both professional and personal nature became one, they mix in ourselves. From the professional point of view, the most important challenges is to realize that we have to move from a purely scientific habit whose ultimate goal is to answer a scientific and biological question to a more or less to a more policy-oriented sphere, who the ultimate goal is to produce value and benefit for the research, national research system. From the personal point of view, in both cases, in my view, it is necessary to consider a certain, to have a propension to displacement, to moving, change countries, change languages, culture, to collaborate with people of different religion, different culture, as I said. These, of course, especially in the view of the build of a family with children, can be a major challenge. The primary aspect to overcome these difficulties, in my view, is the motivation. The motivation cannot be only the economic one, but must find itself instead the different aspects. For example, great mobility must be seen as an added value, as an opportunity, and not as a problem to overcome. The same goes for the possibility to interact with different culture and with different languages and different religion. This must be seen as an opportunity. If you see this just as a problem to be overcome, maybe you have to reflect really if the science diplomacy field it would be the right one for you. So many difficulties it is necessary to overcome, but another point very important is to maintain an attitude very open and willing to learn. What is an aspect to be focused on is that when we leave our previous work as a researcher and our position in university or research institution, entering in science diplomacy environments, in an embassy, we must restart in our mind, and we must realize that we are not anymore the professor, but we became again a student because we have to learn how the world of diplomacy works, because that is something that is not normally non-familiar for us. We have to acquire a certain diplomatic and political sensibility, I would say. This is something that takes time to be acquired. So it is really important, I think, also to maintain this plasticity and realize that we must remain open to be students and not to see us in a position of professor. This, again, in my personal point of view, it is a big opportunity, not a problem. And finally, help also us to remain at least mentally young.
How does scientific diplomacy differ from science communication? Are there overlapping skills that can help in both fields?
Scientific diplomacy is very different from communication. We can perhaps say that communication is a small part of scientific diplomacy. Scientific diplomacy activities must be communicated in the best possible way, also to value, to enhance their impact. But especially in today's world, communication has a very great relevance, and it will be appropriate for professionals to take care of this aspect. Scientific diplomacy and communication should not overlap the ability, not overlap themselves. We can see that the ability to intercept different communities, different sensibilities, it is definitely a common skills from the person that have to develop communication and the person that have to develop a science diplomacy. But to achieve a good communication, I think that we must to maintain separated the two fields. Because at the end, the people, the professionals that have to run the two different fields, yes, they should have some overlapping skills, but then they will develop their activities in very different direction with their very different tools and specialized tools. So communication is really, really important in the present society in which we act, but definitely should not be overlapped and should not be managed by science diplomats, in my view.
Thank you for listening to this episode of EURAXESS Smart Talks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and can't wait to share more with you next time.
You can follow us and find more episodes on the EURAXESS portal or wherever you listen to podcasts.
This episode was prepared by audio engineer Pavle Drashkovich, outreach manager Daria Aksionova, production manager Jacob Wiesenfeld, editors Isar Pier and Miroslav Trajanovic.
This episode is published under the Creative Commons CC BY license.
Thanks for listening.